Hello, I'm your host slash interviewer, Pablo Rodriguez, and I'll be interviewing today with me Monkey D. Luffy, as well as Rosa, and I'll be asking about the immediate effects of the Chicano movement. So my first question for Monkey D. Luffy is, how did the implementation of bilingual education programs impact the academic success and cultural identity of Chicano students?
The Chicano movement led to significant changes in the education system, advocating for culturally relevant curriculum, bilingual education programs, and greater representation of Mexican American history and culture in schools.
Okay, perfect. So I have a couple questions for Rosa. How did the East LA walkouts challenge the educational system?
The East LA walkouts of 1968, also known as the Chicano blowouts, directly challenging the systematic inequalities in the Los Angeles public school systems. Thousands of Mexican Americans high school students protested against overcrowded classrooms, underqualified teachers, lack of college predatory courses, and curriculum that ignored their history and culture. By walking out of class, students disrupt the normal functioning of schools and drew nation's attention to the institutional racism and neglect they face. Their actions forced school officials and border public to acknowledge that the education disparities and spurred demands for the reforms, including bilingual education, culturally relevant curriculum, and great representation for Latin teachers and administrators.
Okay, great. So what role did student activism play in the broader civil rights movement?
Student activism was a vital force in the border civil rights movement, often serving as a catalyst for direct action and social change. From the lunch counter sit-ins led by Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the South to the anti-war and free speech movements on the college campuses, students constantly took bold stands, including injustice. Their willingness to protest, and organize, and sometimes face arrest or violence, brought urgency and visibility to civil rights causes. Student activism also helped the diversity and the movement, integrating voices from different racial, ethnic, and socio-economic backgrounds, and pushing established leaders to adopt more progressive stances.
Okay, thank you, Rosa. So now, I had a question of the advancements made in labor rights. For Monkey, what strategies did the UFW employ to gain national attention and support for farm workers' rights?
The movement played a fundamental role in advocating for the rights of farm workers. Organizations like the United Farm Workers, UFW, led by figures such as Cesar Chavez and Dolores Ureta, successfully fought for better working conditions and higher wages for farm workers.
Okay, thank you for that. Now for Rosa, what strategies did Chavez and Huerta employ to gain support for the strike?
Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta used a combination of grassroots organizing, nonviolent resistance, and building up to gain support for the Delano grape strike, which began in 1965. They mobilized farm workers through door-to-door organizing and community meetings, emphasizing unity and collective bargaining. Most strategies concluded boycotts, nonviolent protests, alliances, media attention, and also support from other activist groups.
Okay, and how did the Delano grape strike influence labor movements in the U.S.?
The Delano grape strike marked a turning point in American labor history by spotlighting struggles of Latino farm workers and providing that nonviolent grassroots activism could lead to significant change. It helped establish United Farm Workers, the UFW, as a powerful labor union, and that was led to the first union contracts that improved wages and working conditions for agricultural workers. More broadly, it inspired labor groups to organize, demonstrate the power and consumer boycott. Sorry. Integrated civil rights into labor activism. The strike highlighted the importance of multiracial unity in labor movements, such as Mexican workers collaborating closely throughout the campaign.
Okay. So now I have a couple questions about the formation of MECHA. So starting with Monkey again, in what ways did MECHA contribute to the political and social awareness of Chicano students on college campuses?
I got you. The Chicano movement influenced the creation of Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, MECA, a student organization aimed at prompting the educational, cultural, and political empowerment of Chicano students in higher education.
Okay, great. Now for Rosa, what were the main grievances of the Chicano community during the moratorium?
Wait, hold on.
Oh my god, a meteor crashed! You'll never believe it. Interviewer, you can ask the questions now.
Okay. So now we're back on business, back on media. Now for Rosa, what were the main grievances of the Chicano community during the moratorium?
The Chicano moratorium was held on August 29th, 1970, and was a massive protest against the Vietnam War led by Mexican American activists. The main grievance of the Chicano community included disproportionate causes in Vietnam, racial and economic injustice at home, and neglected domestic issues that activists believed the government was investing in war abroad while ignoring the urgent needs of the minority communities in the U.S.
Okay. And how did the media's portrayal of the event affect public perception?
Mainstream media covered the Chicano movement. The moratorium, sorry, I can't really say was often limited and biased, or focused on the violence that occurred during the police response that resulted in several deaths, including journalist Ruben Salazar. This framing downplayed the peaceful nature of the march and obscured the movement's legitimate concerns. While some outlets were unrest, alternative and Chicano-run media worked to document the community's perspective, helping to preserve the event's true message and further activism. And the contrast between the mainstream and the community highlighted ongoing struggles of narrative control and representation.
Now for Monkey,
Yes.
focusing on the cultural renaissance, how did Chicano art and literature challenge mainstream narratives and promote cultural pride within the movement?
The Chicano movement sparked a cultural renaissance, leading to the creation of murals, literature, and music that celebrated Chicano identity. Artists like Judy Baca and writers like Ronaldo Añana explored themes of identity, borders, and cultural hybridity.
All right. Sounds good, Monkey. Okay. So what were the challenges faced by Chicano political candidates in gaining support and legitimacy within the political system?
The movement encouraged political participation and civil engagement among Chicanos, leading to increased voter registration and the election of Chicano representatives to local and national offices.
Okay, thank you, Monkey.
No problem.
Now for Rosa, how do Chicano studies programs contribute to a more inclusive academic environment?
So, the Chicano studies programs help build more inclusive academic environments by diversing perspectives. They expanded discourse by integrating Chicano voices and experiences into scholarships and also disciplines. They also promoted cross-cultural understanding, like the programs would encourage dialogue around like race, identity, and history, benefiting like students of like all backgrounds. And then they were supporting undeserved students. Like Chicano studies often served as like an academic and cultural support system, improving retention and successful rates among Latino students.
Okay, that's all for now. Thank you to Monkey and Rosa for being here and answering and giving us lots of important information. And thank you for listening.